It says going live. Waiting on YouTube. YouTube says we're live. Welcome everybody to Aftermatch Wrestling Predicts WWE Hell in a Cell 2020. I'm here with the Cleaver, Colin. Andrew, how's it going?
It's good, man. It's good. It's good.
All right.
How's it going with you?
It's all right. It's all right. It's good and or all right. We're gonna get into this because we like to do predictions around here as fast as fucking possible, and we only have like a handful of matches, literally. So let's start with the top. Let's start with the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre is facing Randy Orton inside Hell in a Cell. Like, more than half of these matches are inside Hell in a Cell. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if that helps the pay-per-view or diminishes like the credibility of the Cell. But I'm gonna throw it to you first. Orton or McIntyre retaining?
Well, to answer your question, it loses credibility for the Cell because I don't really care about Heck in a Milk Crate anymore because ever since they switched it to the damn red cage, man, it just looks like a big-ass Dairyman's milk crate.
It's so hard to see through, too.
Orton versus McIntyre. So Orton has gotten defeated the last two times. He's going for number 14 for the championship. Drew McIntyre is on fire, if you think about it. He's had a decent run with that title since he won it at Mania in front of nobody. But Randy, I think Randy is going to pick up the victory. I really do. For some strange reason, it might just be a fluke night. It could be a real short reign. I don't know, because we'll get something down the road. But anyways, I'll get there when we get there. But I'm going with Randy Orton on this one.
I agree with you, but I call shenanigans. I mean, Hell in a Cell was built for shenanigans because they build it up all week or all month as being this cage that's going to unlock them with each other and no one else. No one can get in. But as we've seen, anyone can get in anytime they want. They can get out. They can climb the son of a bitch and go through the top. Like, this is all just smoke screen. And Orton wouldn't be going for a third time. They would have dropped this already if he wasn't intended to get this title with whatever means possible. And finally, he's going to figure out whatever those means need to be to beat McIntyre, and he's going to do so and become tied with Triple H at 14. And hopefully over the next year or so, before he gets too old to do this again, we'll see him get a few more. But this is 14. I'm going with you, RKO. All right. Yeah. So we are at the top, and it would be easy to go right into the Blue Universal Championship. But instead I'm gonna focus on Bayley, because Bayley has recently hit a mark that has topped the league and will probably be the top number for a long time because nobody's ever beaten Moolah in days holding championships, amongst reigns. I think she's had 6 reigns and so many days as champion. She's already been over a year now, and she is down in the history books as of now. And this is now the time to take the belt off of her. And Sasha Banks is going to take it and hold it for a couple of weeks and then defend it on SmackDown and lose it. But I'm calling Sasha Banks. What about you?
I said Banks last night in the No DQ chat during their official predictions, and I'm going to stick to that because they've been building this for so long. And if they're going to do it at Hell in a Cell, they might as well have Sasha win it because this should have drug out somehow to WrestleMania. They should have kept their hands off each other until WrestleMania and just let it go and go and go. But it's going to be boss time for about 3 weeks, and that's about it. Unless they're really going to pull the trigger and actually give Banks a good title run, because she's never had a good title run.
This is true. She's never had long title runs.
No.
Never had a successful defense. Anyway, so let's see if we can break this. Let's move on to Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, an I Quit match inside the cage. The stipulation is Jay has to say he quits and acknowledge that Roman Reigns is the tribal chief, or he's out of the tribe. He's like out of it. Like he receives no benefits from Roman Reigns being the WWE champion. Of course, if he makes Roman Reigns say I quit, he kind of receives all of the benefits of being the WWE champion. But whatevs. I'm gonna throw it to you first. Who you got here?
Well, it's not just Jay that's out. It's Jay. It's Jay's wife. It's Jay's kids. It's Jimmy. It's Jimmy's wife. It's Jimmy's kids. It's probably Rikishi.
Yeah, but this is for the title, no? This is for the title, right?
This is for the title, but if whoever says I quit, but if Jay says I quit first, he has to acknowledge and pretty much follow Roman, or he's gone. So we're gonna get this Samoan faction because we did see Jimmy on SmackDown.
Yeah, but I guess I got a loophole here because if Jay wins, if he makes Roman say I quit, he gets the WWE champion, and now he's the fucking tribal chief. I'm just saying.
It's not going to go that way, though.
Well, of course not. Of course not.
It would be awesome to see some twin magic. You know what I'm saying? Go down.
Of course not. I think everybody and their grandmother has got Roman Reigns winning this. Yes. If you bet Jey Uso, I mean, you're going to get a ridiculous turnover if you bet real money because the odds are crazy. But you'd have to be crazy because they're not going to put the belt on him. Yeah, you're right. Reigns. Let's move on. Let's move on to something fun. Hardy versus Elias. Jeff Hardy has an impromptu, well, sort of. I mean, this does and doesn't make sense. It makes sense for Elias to attack Jeff if he thinks that Jeff honestly was the person who drove the car into him. But we all figured out that it wasn't Jeff, and Elias was at home. Why wasn't he watching and figuring that out himself? I'm going to just go with Jeff Hardy for some reason. Because I feel like they love Jeff Hardy. They just love some Jeff Hardy all up on them. And what about you?
And this is where you and I part ways here. I am going Elias. Elias is back. Elias is money. Elias is in line for a push. And this is the start of it. Thanks to Jeff Hardy being the type of person that he is, being the start of getting him over.
Is Jeff Hardy on Raw now?
Yes, sir.
Oh. I was thinking that he was in line for a push against Roman Reigns, but is it likely that he's in line for a push against Drew McIntyre? Or, well, maybe Randy Orton. You know what?
Maybe it's
Hardy Orton. Lashley. You know what? I'm sticking with Jeff Hardy. We have one more match that we know of. Of course, they love to throw in matches day of. I would guess that none of these five we're talking about here are going to be pre-show matches. So we're going to get a spontaneous kickoff match, of course.
Yeah.
And somewhere in here, we're going to get a match that's going to further along or settle a feud that we weren't really thinking about, and neither were they until day of when they're like, we need some filler. Let's see, whose turn is it? I think it's your turn to go first. We've got Otis versus The Miz. Winner of this match takes Money in the Bank, the briefcase, or the lunch pail, or whatever, home. They take the contract. They are the new or current Mr. and Money in the Bank. The end of the match. Who's Mr. and Money in the Bank, Colin?
Well, if this Money in the Bank match happens before Orton versus McIntyre, whoever wins this match better cash in. But I'm going The Miz to pick up the win and then cash in on Orton again and pick up his title. So that's why I kind of said earlier it might be like a short reign or something. It might be, cool. You got it for a couple minutes. You're acknowledged as a 14th time champion.
And then Miz sneaks up behind him, hits him with a finale. Skull crushing finale, and then grabs a quick victory, and we walk out of Hell in a Cell with Miz as the WWE champion somehow, some way. Sounds fun. Sounds really fun.
And then we can eventually get Morrison in the picture against Miz.
So are you calling for Otis or not, I'm sorry, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton to be the final main event match of the night?
No, I honestly think if Roman's on the card, Roman needs to be honestly especially this kind of storyline that they're kind of doing with the stipulation. I think that Roman versus Jay is going to close out the show.
I
I
think
know that I know the WWE Championship really should be, but
I think under normal circumstances, you're absolutely right. Under these circumstances and what you're predicting, which I think is a good enough reason, actually, it's a better reason than I have for the WWE Championship match to close the show. I just think if Drew McIntyre is going to lose to Orton via shenanigans, that kind of whatever they're going to do has got to be something big, and it's got to be big enough to close the show with to leave you hanging for Raw. That's just my thoughts. So I'm going to go WWE Championship match, Orton versus McIntyre, to close the show. I just think there's it, and if you're right, if Miz wins and Miz cashes in after McIntyre versus Orton on Orton, then that would be an even bigger reason for that match to close the show. So that's my pick. Any final thoughts or anything on the pay per view?
look for me at like 9 on Thunderdome. I'll be there. And then at like 7:45, or I have 7:45 call time on Raw, so I'll be on the opening segment here of Raw. So, pew, that's it.
Hopefully you'll be
I
up
don't
close,
really
not in the
care.
cheap seats.
I'm over the gimmick match pay-per-views. I miss when the Hell in a Cell meant something. It was we're ending this feud in one way and one way possible. Um, same thing with the tables, ladders, chairs match. Same thing with the Money in the Bank. Same thing with any other Elimination Chamber. You know what I mean? Like,
Money in the
come on.
Bank was built at WrestleMania and should have remained at WrestleMania. It should have never been a pay per view. Same. I agree with you with everything else. Occasionally, it would be fun to slip one in retro, retro style like NXT has been doing with some of these WWE or WCW concepts and old WWF concepts. But yeah, I say get rid of them. Just it seems so lazy. Lazy's the word. Uh,
Yeah, because we know in February, it's Elimination Chamber.
and
We know every December it's TLC.
and not
Like,
necessarily. And elimination chamber used to mean something too. You bring it in when you've got so many A-list wrestlers, so many main eventers on the same brand that you need a way to get 6 or 8 of these some bitches in a ring in a dangerous environment where it's not just first to the pinfall or submission; they take each other out one by one. These ideas are great, but as pay-per-views, it's lousy and lazy and forced. And I think we've all agreed upon this. I wish they'd do something about it, but it doesn't seem too likely at this point.
nope.
Anyway, way to end it on a downer, Colin. Let's bring it up with some plugs. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me in the Cleaver Colin Ender on my YouTube page or nodq.com/Colin. Takes you to my Twitter page. That's really about it.
All right. You can find me on Twitter. Go to nodq.com/Stefan, Stefan, or just at Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. There's also Aftermatch on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Just search for him. You'll find it. It's not hard. He runs like 2 or 3 of those. It's crazy. So hit him up on there. Give him some likes and some follows. Give me some likes and some follows on Instagram. I keep getting more. I don't know why I don't have anything, but it's fun. I don't clog up your news feed. Other than that, I think that's it. How fast was this? 15 minutes. Woot woot.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Later.